Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4077. Today's date is May 29, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8:17 a.m. By the way, my mobile phone battery is almost like a 17%. I'm not really sure how long will it kind of like record Artifact, but I'm trying. Okay, I am kind of like making my brightness as low as possible so that like I'm not kind of like a listening. Hello. Okay, yeah. Basically my mobile phone battery is very low. I'm not really sure how much it gonna survive. I just recently just kind of like automatically just I don't know what exactly happened with my phone. Okay, because of the low battery it might not gonna survive that much longer, so probably I have to wrap up my entire Artifact as quickly as possible as it can. Okay, so this is my Artifact episode number 4077. Today's date is 29 of May 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8:18 a.m. All right, let's just jump into the question. All right, the question is that how will you reduce the AI error? Okay, okay. First of all, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. Now, what exactly is this application? When you record the diary every single day, you cannot able to be write the diary with the way that you wanted to. The reason is that your kind of like a thought process is actually way much faster than your writing speed. Why does writing speed actually slower? Is because of that you need a pen, you need a paper, you need a convenience, and even after all those things, you need to put effort to print your thoughts and things and that and that. But what if instead of kind of like simply writing your diary, what if you could record a diary, like audio record a diary? Uh, Audio recording diary, a particular process I call Artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my Artifact. My Artifact episode number 4077. I am doing this thing for past 11 year. I am doing this thing every single day. Because of this, recording a diary or writing a diary is a self-reflection process. Recording Artifact is a self-reflection process, and because of this thing it adds so much amount of value in myself. The person that I'm became today and the person that I will become tomorrow, it is all because of Artifact. The amount of value that I get from Artifact, I wanted to share this value to the people. How? By building an application. My application is somewhat something like a YouTube platform. When you like in a YouTube platform, you actually kind of like upload your video, other people sees your video. Same thing, you kind of like record your Artifact, other people can upload your Artifact in my platform, other people kind of like a listen. The only one catch is that your privacy is kind of like a something hidden. That your name is like my name is Saurabh Bothare, but my Artifact handle name would be Prozac 1943 or something else, so that I would kind of like making sure my privacy is a kind of like a something would not get compromised. So this is my application. Now, before I wanted to build this application, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences that might gonna happen, specifically worst possible consequences. So I went to ChatGPT, share my idea regarding about application, and and kind of like tell him that suggest me hundreds of all the possibles of worst possible consequences when I build the application. ChatGPT kind of like suggest me hundreds of those questions, and this is one of those questions. The question actually in the mobile phone, but while recording I cannot do anything at all. So that's why I wrote the question in here. All right. Now regarding about the question it says that how do you supposed to reduce the AI error? Okay. Now what is exactly the AI error and things and that and that. All right. So basically, my application is actually powered by AI, powered by or kind of like use AI to kind of like simply making sure the process actually happen very smoothly. Okay. First of all, why are you using AI and kind of like simply why? Okay. Okay, so first of all is that privacy is the one of the really essential thing in my application, and I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted that the user kind of like simply their identity always been hidden. But how do I supposed to do that? How do I supposed to ensure that they will not gonna kind of like mention their name and things and that and that? Like when they record the Artifact, at the spur of the moment they might gonna mention and things and that and that. So in that situation, how do I supposed to be kind of like a something, yeah, rectify this problem? Okay. So basically is this thing I was actually thinking that na ki first of all the people who kind of like recorded the artifact whatever they are, kind of like a something is this thing, entire artifact is actually transcribed into the text. Okay, yeah. AI will kind of like read that text. Okay, yeah, like with the subtitle. Okay, like AI kind of like create that subtitle has a timestamp. If the particular person mentions some sort of name or things and that, like my name is Saurabh Bauthare, I am from Wardha, Maharashtra. So Saurabh Bauthare is a name, Wardha, Maharashtra is a name, I am from this college, so this college actually a name, a noun. So AI is a kind of like somebody easily detect the noun. Okay, yeah, when it detect the noun, it has a kind of like a timestamp that where that kind of like a name, kind of like a mention in the audio. So there is a timestamp. Look at the timestamp and block that particular segment or trim that particular segment or mute that particular segment, so that other people would not able to be listen and things and that would not able to be kind of like a know their name and things and that. This is the kind of like only one of the really good. Okay, yeah, because I don't want that ki kind of like some people who kind of like somebody listen their things and that. Okay, yeah, but I wanted that too because AI might gonna kind of like a fail in that too. Because if I'm gonna say that ki AI will kind of like a handle everything, then that is not really good too. Because AI might gonna do mistake even if how much I train the AI and things and that, because the millions of people will gonna record the artifact and millions of people have millions of artifacts and probably kind of like a transcribe this all those things at the same time. It's not really possible. Might be kind of like I will melt my server and things and that. Okay, because AI just like it can make mistake. Yeah, that is true. Like even if the AI is a kind of like a far more stronger, it can make mistakes too. So how do I supposed to be kind? And basically is this thing na, ki if AI make mistakes, then probably is this thing that na their privacy get compromised and things and that. So in that situation, how do I supposed to be kind of like making sure that AI will not gonna make mistake? So basically it's this thing that ki basically what exactly I want from AI. I want that ki AI should not supposed to be kind of like a simply compromise their identity, right? Yeah. But what if instead of AI would kind of like a simply find out the kind of like a what is exactly the stuff that they should supposed to trim? What if the user would kind of like a something help AI to kind of like a trimmed out particular segment? Example, what I'm thinking that na ki when the user kind of like a record the artifact, they cannot able to be publish the artifact. No, basically it's this thing, they have to be listen their artifact. Okay, yeah. Almost like a 95% they should supposed to be listen, and only after they are artifact should supposed to be kind of like a hit public. They will not gonna went public. Okay, yeah. User should supposed to be listen their artifact almost like a 95%. One thing, another thing. Okay, so when the user will kind of like a listen, they can able to be trimmed out the particular segment that they don't want it to be. Okay, yeah. So basically it's this thing that na ki people are kind of like editing their artifact. Okay, yeah. It's not kind of like AI will kind of like remove the noun. No, the user will kind of like edit the trim out the particular segment that they want. At the beginning I might not have this feature because right now I'm kind of like building this application and adding the editing feature into my this thing. It's not really possible for me because I'm not Android developer. But basically is this thing, when I will have resources, when I will have people and things and then I will definitely have this feature. It was very much essential. Okay, yeah. So user will kind of like edit the particular artifact, that stuff that they don't want it to be. Okay, yeah. Like select the particular things and kind of like a similar trim out that particular segment. Okay, yeah. And also with the noun. Okay, like basically AI will kind of like detect the noun and it automatically trim down. But people are also kind of like a user will kind of like help him that ki, okay, this noun is a kind of like okay, like basically I did mention the name of Abdul Kalam. No, Abdul Kalam is a kind of like a simply the name, it's a noun, but it does not kind of like a reveal the identity. So I don't want that ki, kind of like a explaining like a mentioning the Abdul Kalam name is a kind of like a somebody very much kind of like a somebody compromise my privacy. So I keep that name too because AI does not understand the what is actually the essential for you and what is actually not. So user will kind of like understand and user will kind of like keep it that name. Okay, yeah. So this is why it kind of like a things that a kind of like a somebody user will kind of like a verify their own artifact first and then they will kind of like a hit the publish. So this is why kind of like a somebody user will kind of like a somebody, they will kind of like a things that ki, okay, that ki probably is this thing that ki I review my artifact and I realize that ki there is no kind of like a somebody that ki privacy concern, So probably I won't kind of like a easy to share my artifact and things and that and that. That is one true. Another thing is that what if the user don't really wanted to do editing and things and that and that. So in that particular situation, user should supposed to be listen their artifact. Okay, yeah. Like basically it is essential. Like any user, if the user wanted to publish the artifact, they have to be kind of like listen their own artifact first. Okay, yeah. They don't wanted to do editing and things and that. Like by the way, editing means like that if you're thinking that na, Premiere Pro editing and things and that, like a kind of like a heavy layer. No, it's not. I'm kind of like editing the audio layer. That's it. Okay, yeah. And there is no kind of like a multiple layers and things you can add. No, nothing really at all. Just a kind of like a simply timeline with kind of like a subtitle. You select that subtitle, that kind of like a playhead. Like I don't know how it kind of like a simply feature, but I'm kind of like a make it kind of like a, as much as user friendly, so that kind of like any normal user will kind of like a click on this particular trim and kind of like a click and trim it out. It would be kind of like a much more easier for any normal human to kind of like a things. But the user should supposed to be listen their own artifact first. That is a very much essential. Okay, and then and only then when they are kind of like somebody assured that okay, my artifact is kind of like ready to share, then they will kind of like hit the public. That is very much essential. Okay, yeah. Now another thing. Okay, this is how I kind of like somebody making sure that key AI will not gonna make mistake. Okay, yeah. Now another thing is that key possibly is this thing AI will kind of like something judge the artifact. Okay, yeah, because this is very much essential, because Adam is a AI, by the way, which kind of like a judge the artifact. Okay, now judge the artifact means what? Like basically every artifact episode actually judged by the kind of like a something 70% of the people, 30% of the AI. 70% of the people by kind of like a liking and how much watch duration and kind of like how much put the likes and things and that it depends on that. Okay, yeah, and watch duration. But also is this thing that key it's only 70% and 30% actually judged by the Adam. Okay, Adam is a AI. Now how does Adam will kind of like a work, and how does Adam will work very efficiently in that particular situation? Okay, so basically is this thing, if the particular user kind of like a recorded artifact regarding about something happened regarding about their life. Okay, yeah, AI will transcript this entire thing. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing that na ki transcript the entire thing, understand the kind of like a context that he was kind of like trying to say and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing, what is exactly right and what is exactly wrong, it's a completely relative subject. Okay, yeah. AI does not really understand what is exactly right and what is exactly wrong. So how does AI will kind of like determine the kind of like which is exactly right and which is exactly wrong? Okay, yeah. Basically is this thing, AI will try to analyze that what kind of like some situation or what kind of like something what kind of like effect will gonna happen if that artifact went live. Okay, like basically is this thing, if like let's just say is this thing, a particular person recorded an artifact regarding about that he kind of like a sex two girl at the same time. Probably it's kind of like a really like a interesting way to kind of like a listening that particular artifact, right? But probably Adam what gonna do, Adam will kind of like understand the particular context and understand that key what might gonna affect that when the user will kind of like listen this artifact, what might gonna think. Okay, so basically Adam will kind of like understand, and they might think that dude, this is a kind of completely wrong, because if the user will kind of like listening this artifact, they will kind of like try to do more this particular activity, like basically the like a sex two girl at the same time and things and that and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. People usually kind of like listen those kind of like things, might be kind of like somebody incorporate the action of the they that they wanted to, but the basic reason that is a completely wrong for the society. But how does AI will kind of like something that is wrong for the society? How does kind of like a AI will kind of like judge? Well, basically is this thing na ki Adam, like I have to be train Adam regarding about what is actually right and what is actually wrong, and this is kind of like a very much essential for me. I don't know at the moment how do I supposed to be train my Adam, but I have to be trained. Okay, at the beginning I might not have this feature. Okay, all the AI feature I don't have at the moment. Why? Because of that key, like at the beginning almost like 100% of the every artifact is actually judged by the people. Okay, yeah. Algorithm is kind of like a Adam will kind of like implement or judge the artifact after I get resources and after I build the Adam and after I really ensure that key Adam will kind of like a somebody that key understand the context and try to determine what is actually right and what is actually wrong. Okay, and stuff and like that. Okay, yeah. But even after all those things, it kind of like give you only 30% of the kind of like assembly judgmental rights. Okay, not 100%, only 30%. Just try to figure it out what is actually right and what is actually wrong. But what I'm realized that na ki basically today's AI is a kind of like a much more smarter. They understand the context, they understand the meaning of what does people say and things and that and that and that. So probably it's not really that difficult for me, but still is this thing that na ki when I will build the application, I might have kind of like a multiple kind of like a simply that ki problem. But I have to figure it out. But before I kind of like a train Adam, I will not gonna implement Adam into the artifact. I have to be train Adam regarding about what is actually right and what is actually wrong, and then and only then Adam will kind of like started judging the artifact regarding about what is actually right and what is actually wrong. Okay, yeah. I have to be train them first. Okay, train simulate regarding about every possible scenario, and then Adam will kind of like a judge the artifact. Okay, this is the second. Now another thing. Okay, now every person kind of like a record a artifact regarding about something. Okay, like a basically it's this thing that when they record the artifact, audio is actually picked up everything, like a basically wind noise, my voice, kind of like a background score, or kind of like a some coffee shop mumble, or kind of like a whatever the traffic noise and things and that and that. So in that situation, how does AI will kind of like a simply determine what is actually focus and what is actually not? Okay, yeah, that is very much essential too. By the way, is this thing that na ki still is this thing that ki like basically whatever the, and also the language barrier. Okay, because the every user kind of like speak their own language and things and that. So it is very hard to kind of like determine that what is actually that they kind of like some stuff that they mention and things and that, because the kind of like a somebody that key one word might be kind of like offended in one language, in another language that same word same pronunciation might not offended or might not wrong. So in that situation, how does kind of like Adam will kind of like understand the context and things like that. Also the kind of like a language mix up, like a basically is this thing that ki most of the kind of like a language, they have kind of like a small hybrid of the kind of like a language, like a basically Hindi plus English. Okay, yeah. So people kind of like a speak English plus Hindi, both at the same time. So how does AI will understand that? Okay, yeah. Now it just kind of like I'm talking about Indian context point of perspective, but every country has its own their kind of like a thing. They have kind of like a hybrid language regarding about the two language mix up, and they kind of like a speak something because the way that they should supposed to be speak. So in that situation, Adam try to understand. Okay, Adam will kind of like a try to implement the things and that and that. Okay, basically is this thing at the beginning na, like I know that ki kind of like somebody is saying right now I don't really have any kind of like some proper knowledge regarding about that ki how do I supposed to build the Adam regarding about that. But I have to be train Adam to kind of like understand the context, understand the kind of like what exactly people says with kind of like a hybrid language, and kind of like a something the ignoring the kind of like a background score or kind of like a traffic noise and focus on that and lot of stuff. Okay, yeah. Probably is this thing that na right now, like basically I'm thinking that na ki AI is a kind of like a very much smart on these days. Okay, like a basically let's take a kind of like a YouTube. Okay, like a basically you are watching this video, YouTube video, and YouTube kind of like a creating automatic subtitle. You click on that subtitle, it create automatic English subtitle. Okay, yeah, which is kind of like they are using very high powerful kind of like a AI called Gemini to kind of like a transcribe my audio into the subtitle, which is kind of like a really good. But basically it's this thing now I have to be understand, I have to be kind of like a like I don't know how, I don't have any kind of like a proper knowledge or proper answer regarding about thing at the moment, that how does Adam will kind of like a transcribe this all those possible things. But I'm gonna make sure that it should supposed to be. Oh, all right, this is it, and I have to go. Thank you.